there are the 3 different Big Mac tacos. I'm gonna do it this way because both of these just taste more like the Big Mac. You know, I grew up as a child in the 70s and there weren't a lot of fast food options at that time. And I remember that McDonald's was definitely my first choice and it was a special treat. Now say what you will about McDonald's and the quality of their food, but it was definitely a special treat in the 70s and I still have some of my favorites today. And one of my favorites when I was big enough to be able to handle it was the Big Mac. So I'm really excited about this test kitchen because I kind of want to test out some different ways to make the best Big Mac taco that I can. So one of the ways I'm going to be trying today is what I've been seeing on social media in the other videos. And then another way, actually both other ways, are 2 spins, creative spins that I have to make the Big Mac taco. And at the end, I'm going to taste all of them and give you my opinion, like, does it even satisfy? Is it even a good stand-in for the regular Big Mac? And so I'm really excited about it. I pledged my taste buds for this challenge. So very excited about it. So today, I have all the ingredients. As you might know, there's specific ingredients that go into a Big Mac. In fact, as a young child, it was a big deal to be able to say the saying that went through the commercials, which was 2 whole beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. And I think you had to say it like super quick or something. Anybody remember that? I've gathered the ingredients and I do have a couple substitutions for the taco part. So let me tell you what I'm going to be using today. So the first thing I'm going to be using is lean ground beef. That's kind of my jam. And then I noticed in a lot of the videos, many people were using corn tortillas, some were using flour tortillas. I am opting for the more flour variety because I think that will resemble the bun better and replacing the bun part of it. And one of my favorite, if you follow me know, is to use the Mission Carb Balance. So they have a street taco size, so it's a perfect size for these Big Mac tacos. So that's what I'm going to be using today. And the traditional way, what I've been seeing all over social media, is you take a round ball of beef and then you smush it to fit on the tortilla. So that's what I'm going to do right here. So the very first thing is getting this smushed and ready for the tortilla. And it'll look something like that. And I'm going to season it with some salt, some pepper, and then a little bit of onion powder and garlic powder, just to give that meat a little bit of flavor. And that's actually how I'm going to be seasoning the rest of the meat that I use today. So I kind of want it to taste just like a hamburger. The other version that I'm going to be making and switching up a bit is using a smash burger technique without the tortilla. I'll put the tortilla on after I flip the first side. I'm anxious to see how this cooks this way, and I know you can flip it over and get some heat with the tortilla, but in any event, I want to try it this way and kind of slip some cheese in and see how that version turns out. So this I will season once it gets in the pan. And then here is my ground meat that I'm going to be using taco style. So once I get onto the pan, I'm going to break this up, add the seasoning, and have it look more like taco meat for the third style. So 3 different styles, 3 different techniques. There'll be kind of almost 3 different layerings of ingredients, and we'll see how it goes. Now there's other ingredients we're going to be needing for these delicious Big Mac tacos, and that is lettuce, onion. You can see I shredded the lettuce and I chopped the onion really small. We also need American cheese. Now, here you see mostly, at least over in Philly and New Jersey, you see mostly white American cheese, and that's what I have. So I'll be using white American. Where you are, it might be more yellow American. And then the special sauce. This special sauce is the most important ingredient on the Big Mac in many aspects and gives us that flavor, that something that makes it unique and delicious. So if you look online, you'll see a lot of recipes for the special sauce. I wanted to find what was the most authentic to what McDonald's used. And when I did my researching, I kind of went down a rabbit hole, to be honest. But it was worth it because I found, and I'll include the link below, I found an article and kind of a blog article about it on allrecipes.com. And apparently in 2022, Chef Mike Harax, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, he was the former manager of the culinary innovation at McDonald's. He posted a TikTok video recreating the Big Mac and saying it's as close as you could get. And in there, he includes the recipe for the special sauce. Now, when you look up special sauce for Big Macs, you'll see the ketchup camp, even the Thousand Island in it camp, and then you'll see ones that harken more like what Mike had put down on here. And let me right now show you how I made this. Okay, to make the authentic Big Mac special sauce, you'll need mayonnaise, sweet pickle relish, Dusseldorf mustard. However, I don't have that, so they said a good substitute would be Dijon. And then for spices, you're going to need some white pepper, paprika, granulated, or not granulated, actually onion powder and garlic powder, although you probably could use granulated of both of those also. And then lastly, some white wine vinegar. And then we're going to mix all of these together. So let me add in the spices. And the link for this recipe, which also has the measurements, can be found down below in description. And you'll see that ketchup is actually not added to the special sauce. It gets its red color from paprika. You could obviously mix up the paprika, adding a smoked paprika or hot paprika to change the flavor profile of the sauce, but I'm just using a sweet paprika. And then here, you can see that the sauce is quite thick, so if you wanted to thin it out, you could always add some water, but I think this is a great consistency. And it's best made ahead of time so that it allows the flavors to develop. Give it a quick taste, see how it is. It is really good. And you know, before now, like when I was younger, I remember trying to recreate the special sauce at home when we would have burgers. And the one I was doing definitely was sweeter because it was using the ketchup and the sweet relish. But this, with the addition of the mustard and the white vinegar, really gives it some bite, and the paprika gives it great taste as well. And then lastly, we're going to need some pickles. And so we have a local brand called Grillo's Pickles, and I bought those and just cut those in slices to be using those for the burgers. And then lastly, I don't think any video I saw with the Big Mac included the lowly sesame seed, because if you remember, it's always on the sesame seed bun. So I feel like the sesame, for my recipe, need to be there somewhere. And frankly, I'm going to put it on all of them, even the one that I've seen a lot of other people share. So I'm not forgetting the sesame seeds because I like the crunch, I like the taste, and I'll make sure there's a little sprinkle on all of them. And that's about it. So let's get to grilling. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my taco meat fixed and ready. So I'm going to spray just a little bit of oil in this preheated pan, and then I'm going to put in the ground meat that I had set aside, ready to go. I'm going to break up the ground meat, turn down the heat just a little bit, and to this I'm going to be adding salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, and a little bit of onion powder. Not too much, it's not a lot of meat there. I do want to break this up. I'm just going to get this meat browned before I get started on the other burgers. While the other meat is browning, I'm going to get my other burger the traditional way started. That's the one that we prepared ahead of time. I'm going to give a little bit of a spritz of oil on my pan. And I'm going to put this flat side down, and I'm going to give it a press. go. Set it pretty high. And then I'm going to take the other meatball, so to speak, of lean ground beef that we had made, and I'm going to do a smash burger right here next to it. Let me do it that way. And get that nice and flat. There we go. Okay, part of the reason I wanted to do it this way was because I felt it would be really good to get a crispy side and then add some cheese before I add the tortilla. I am going to take a peek at this and see how this one's looking. That looks really nice. But as you can see right here, that part's not done. So I'm going to let that continue to cook. And this one I'm going to get seasoned with some salt, some pepper, a little garlic powder, and a little onion powder. Now, if I'm being honest, this is the concern I have with this one, is how that other side is going to cook. So I can see that some of it is cooking through. And then I believe the way they showed it was then you cook the other side of the flour tortilla and it kind of keeps cooking on that side. So we're going to give that a whirl. Let me use my nonstick with that. There we go. And I think this one's set to just go over. I'm going to use my nonstick on that. Let's give it a little more oil since this is a lean ground meat. I'm going to flip that over. So this was my thinking. At this point, I'm going to be putting some American cheese on this one that's all by itself. Has that one crispy side. And I'm going to put that tortilla on top of it. So that can kind of become one with it. And then with these, I'm going to be taking some of the meat, enough for a taco, and I'm kind of going to be doing the same, but it's all broken up like taco meat instead of as a burger. I'm going to take a piece of cheese, put that over, and of course I need to put cheese on my other one we just did. I'm also going to put this tortilla over it so it has a chance to steam a little bit while that cheese is melting. And I can even put a lid on top just to help everything steam and melt. We'll do that. That will give it a little bit of help. Take a look. That got melted. And these should be ready to go. So I'm going to turn off my heat. I'm going to flip them and get them in the taco containers. Here's the one that we did that is similar to how most people that did the videos, this is how they did it. I'm going to need to use my hands to get into the taco shape. And that was one of the concerns I had with doing it this way. Also with the heat and the messy taco. So I'm going to do my best to do that. The cheese is kind of coming off, and this was one of the concerns I had. So got that one going, but it's a bit of a hot mess in there, so to speak. Let me get the one that I made the different way, but it's a traditional burger. Here, you can see the cheese kind of burnt there, which is not ideal. So I'm actually going to take that burnt part off. I don't mind a crispy cheese, but I do want to have the lusciousness of the cheese as well. So I'm going to make an executive decision, put this one in the middle, and I'm going to be adding some more cheesiness since I took off the burnt stuff. So if I did this again, what I would do is I would definitely cut the cheese to size. And then lastly, the taco. No, that of course did the same thing. So I should have not let it stay there as long. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little flip. So I just flipped it like that so that the caramelized side was on the bottom. So that's what happens in the test kitchen. You see some things work and then you figure out what you could do to make it better. So now it's time for the toppings. So let's get these toppings on. One of the toppings that was really important was a special sauce, but I want to put it in a baggie so I can drizzle it on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that special sauce, put it here in a Ziploc, Then I'm gonna just cut a little hole there, and that way I can drizzle. So I think what I was thinking as far as order of operation for the rest of these things was gonna put the sauce down first next to the cheese. I'm just gonna do onions first. Get some onions going in there. Make sure there's room in that one. And you know, you could decide to cook the onions if you don't like raw onions. That part of me, you know, wants to stick to, I like cooked onions, but I like raw onions too. I'm getting some pickles in there. Squeezing those guys in. Okay. Get some pickles in there, then some lettuce. Got some lettuce going. The shredded lettuce is the way to go. That makes it really good. Just a little bit more. And then on the other two, I was going to be drizzling this on top. So what's nice is you can do a little sauce on top when you get this ready this way. You can do a little drizzle. Oops. Oh, it's so good. This one I have it already on the bottom, so I'm going to try it that way. I'm not going to put any on top, not that you couldn't do both. And then I'm going to just sprinkle some sesame seeds on top for a little crunch and a little nuttiness. There are the 3 different Big Mac tacos. So everything's all set. It is taste time now. So the first one I'm going to taste is the traditional one. The one that's been making its rounds on TikTok and YouTube Shorts is the one where you press the patty into the tortilla and then you flip it over and it gets crisp like that. You can see the browning on that. It gets it nice and crisp. And then inside, when we flipped it over, we put some American cheese, and then we put onions, pickles, lettuce. We drizzled some of the special sauce on there, and I sprinkled some sesame seeds. So that's kind of what I added to that. So this is the one that traditionally we've been seeing, at least I've been seeing a lot on the video. So let's give it a try. Well, the first thing you taste is the special sauce. Since it's on top, that's kind of the first thing that gets you. There's not a lot of beefy flavor. I'm getting flavor from the browning on the tortilla. I'm tasting the pickles heavily. Like, I'm just not tasting a lot of the meat. So that's my only complaint about this one. And maybe it's just the other flavors are just a little stronger. So I'm going to try now the one I did the other way, where the taco does not get flipped onto the griddle. You flip the burger instead. And this one actually has American cheese against the tortilla and the burger, and also on top of the tortilla. That was kind of a last minute game time decision. But then it has on it, I put special sauce next, then pickles, onions, and lettuce on top with sesame seeds. There's no special sauce on top. Let me give you a show. There's no special sauce on top. And we'll see if that hits different, because the special sauce hit so quick with the first one. Well, right off the bat, it's more beefy. If you recall, the spread didn't go as far since I wasn't using my fingers to spread out the meat. So the burger patty is a little more compact. So that's coming through. And I think having the special sauce down below is definitely a good thing. I love the special sauce flavor, but it helps it kind of stay with the burger and everything, as opposed to just sitting right out there on top. This one, and I like the double cheese, I gotta say. I put the double cheese, if you recall, as an accident because the cheese had kind of come down and burned or caramelized, which wasn't really a problem for me. I will eat any kind of cheese, whether it's burned, browned, you know, just melted, whatever. But in fact, Hubs would love it that way. He would love it like that, all caramelized. However, I did want to get that creaminess that American cheese gives. So I actually love having the cheese against the tortilla and burger and on top. That is a nice win. So that one, those are kind of the strong points doing it that way. And the last one is the more taco style. So this one, I broke up and browned the ground beef and added salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder like I added to the burgers, and then added the cheese on top, and then put the tortilla over it to kind of soften and get that cheese melted. But this one did get caramelized, so I wonder if I'm gonna miss some of the creaminess of the cheese because of it. So, and we do have the special sauce on top. So let's see how this one goes. Well, this one's interesting. So let me just see if you can see that here. Get this pickle out of the way. So since we did this much more taco-y, as you would expect, not the taco meat, the McDonald's meat, which it wasn't, the lean ground meat with the salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, it kind of gets pooled, right? You know, like you would with a taco. And that's not a bad thing because it gives you some real beefiness there, which I really liked. I am missing a little creaminess of cheese. So the only thing that I would have liked to have done differently was either lay some cheese when we add the hot beef on there, or just be more careful and mindful when I put the cheese and the tortilla over the ground beef. I was doing all the different burgers and getting a little sidetracked, as I would spend a lot quicker time with that and flip it over when it's melted and get it dressed and ready to go. It's interesting because this one does have the special sauce on top, but somehow with the beef just being, I think having the beef being more present, like, I don't know, more congregated, it hits different. It hits a little bit more like the Big Mac. So I'll have to say, of the three, they're all good, first of all. Like, let's be real. They're all very tasty and delicious. They've got great ingredients, that special sauce, everything's yummy. But I have to say that the one that to me least tastes like a Big Mac is this one. You know, and you get the texture of the shell and all of that, and I get it. But it just doesn't taste like a Big Mac to me. The two that taste most like Big Macs are the way that I did it, where you flip the burger, then added the cheese to the tortilla and let it brown on the other side. And then we actually added a second piece of cheese, which I actually think was really good, especially if they're thin slices of American cheese. And then the taco style way, where we just crumbled up the meat and then add some cheese and then add the toppings. To me, to be honest, I wouldn't make it this way again. It's tasty, but if I'm going to try to get like a little bit of a Big Mac craving, I'm gonna do it this way because both of these just taste more like the Big Mac. And I don't know which one I would choose over the other. Kind of, I mean, this would be easier to be honest, but this gives you more of a burger feeling. So that's kind of nice there too. So I'm glad I did this. So tell me what ways you're making this Big Mac taco hack. Tell me if you're doing anything different, what you're finding, what you're changing, what really hits you right when you make it. And thank you for joining my test kitchen. I hope you try it out and hope you let me know down below any changes you would make and what your thoughts are if you try any of these. So until we eat again, toodles.